3 weeks ago, I signed the papers on a house I saved 8 years to buy. Last Sunday my mother called a family meeting and told me I need to hand it over to my sister, because she is getting married. Not a request. Not a conversation. A declaration, like the 8 years I spent skipping vacations, driving a crack-2009 Civic, and picking up freelance jobs on weeknights, were just minor background details in a plan she had already decided on. My name is Marcus Webb. I am 32 years old. I work as a data analyst in Austin, Texas. And apparently, according to my mother Sandra, I don't deserve the one thing I built entirely on my own. Let me give you context so you understand what kind of family I grew up in. I have one sibling. My sister Qley, 27. I am the oldest. The difference in how our parents raised us wasn't subtle. It was consistent, documented, and exhausting. When I was 18, my parents told me college funding wasn't possible for them. I applied for every scholarship I could find, worked 20 hours a week at a grocery store, and attended community college before transferring to finish my degree. Every dollar was mine. When Qley turned 18 4 years later, my parents paid for all 4 years at UT Austin full tuition. Campus housing, meal plan, not a loan. A gift, I asked my mom once. She said, "We are in a better place financially now, Marcus," end of conversation. When I was 22 and looking for my first apartment, I scraped together a deposit alone. When Qley turned 22, my parents handed her $7,000 toward her first place. They called it a head start. I stopped waiting for things to be fair a long time ago. I focused entirely on what I could control. I built a budget most of my coworkers would call extreme. No international trips, no new car. Every bonus, every freelance payment, every tax refund went straight into one account I did not touch. 8 years, $57,400. A 20% down payment on a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in South Austin, close to the Colorado River, purchase price, $287,000. I signed closing documents on a Tuesday afternoon 3 weeks ago. The agent handed me the keys and shook my hand. I walked to my car and sat there for 10 minutes. I wasn't sad, I just didn't know who to call. No one in my family had asked about the process. No one said congratulations. My friend Owen texted me that evening. That was it. I had been in that house 22 days when my mother called about a family dinner. I figured it was something ordinary, maybe a birthday plan. Maybe she wanted to talk about the holidays. I got there and Qley was already on the couch next to Derek Holloway, her boyfriend of 14 months. Derek is 35. Works in real estate consulting, though the details of what he actually does seem to shift slightly every time he explains it. Every single conversation I had ever had with him found its way back to property values, market timing, and investment strategy. He had a smile that never quite reached his eyes. The kind of smile that belongs to someone already waiting for a meeting to go exactly the way they planned. Qley announced they were engaged. Ring, hugs. My dad Gary stood up and clapped Derek on the back. I said congratulations and meant it. Then my mother sat down, folded her hands, and looked at me. "Marcus," she said, "Qley and Derek are starting a life together. They need a stable place. You bought a 3-bedroom house and you are single with no kids. We think you should sell it to them at a family price." "What is a family price?" I asked. $220,000, she said. $220,000. $67,000 below market. Roughly equal to every dollar I had saved across 8 years. I let that number sit in the air for a moment. I looked at Derek, still smiling, still silent. He did not need to say a word. My mother was handling everything. I looked at my dad Gary, he was looking at his phone, same as always. I took one breath. That is my house. I am not selling it. Qley shot up from the couch. "You are so selfish. Marcus, you always have been." "I am selfish," I said, "for keeping a house I bought." My mother leaned forward. "She just wants somewhere to call home. Can you not think about someone besides yourself for once?" I looked her directly in the eyes. "Did you ever think about me that way, once, in 32 years? Nobody answered. Not the kind of silence where an answer is coming. The kind where everyone in that room already knows and nobody wants to say it out loud. I picked up my keys and walked out. I drove home, made coffee, and sat at my kitchen table in the dark. At 11:14 that night, my phone buzzed. It was Owen. "Yo, do you know who Derek Holloway actually is? I just found something. Call me right now, man." Update 1. Remember, when I said Derek smiled through that whole meeting without saying a word? I have been thinking about that smile ever since. I know what it means now. Let me catch you up on what happened between that Sunday dinner and the moment everything clicked into place. The morning after I walked out, my phone started lighting up, not from my parents. From everyone else. Aunts, uncles, cousins, I hadn't heard from in 2 or 3 years. My mom had clearly made some calls. My Aunt Patricia texted, "Marcus, family is more important than money. Think about what you are doing." My Uncle Don wrote, "Your sister is getting married. This isn't the time to be selfish. Do the right thing." A cousin I barely know sent a voice message. I didn't listen to it. I just watched the notification sit there. I didn't reply to a single one of them, because I had nothing to say yet. Something was pulling at the back of my mind and I needed to figure out what it was before I opened my mouth to anyone. I called Owen. He picked up on the first ring. Owen works in financial compliance. He spends his days pulling records, cross-referencing documents, and finding the thing that doesn't line up. He is exactly the person you want in your corner when something feels wrong. But you cannot name it yet. He told me to sit down. Derek Holloway had been evicted from 2 separate apartments in the Austin area within a 3-year window. Not for noise. For non-payment, the second eviction went to a county court filing. Owen also found a civil judgment from 2019. $34,000 owed to a contractor after a disputed renovation project. Still outstanding. Then Owen told me the part that made my stomach drop. Derek had held a real estate license in Texas. Past tense. His license was revoked in 2021, following a complaint filed with the Texas Real Estate Commission. Owen couldn't pull the full complaint details without a formal request. But the revocation was sitting right there on the public record. A man who talks about property values and investment strategy at every dinner table he sits at has not been legally allowed to operate in real estate for 4 years. Then, Owen said there was one more thing. Before Qley, Derek had been engaged to a woman named Brittany Cole in Nashville, Tennessee. The engagement ended suddenly about 3 years ago. Around that same time, a property owned by Brittany's family was sold at a price significantly below its assessed value. Owen couldn't confirm the direct connection without digging deeper, but the timing was very hard to ignore. I decided to talk to Qley first. Not my parents. Not a lawyer. Just Qley, because if there was any chance she didn't know what was sitting next to her, she deserved to hear it from me first. We met at a coffee shop on South Congress that Thursday morning, just the two of us. She came in with her ring on and her guard up. But she sat down. I slid the folder across to her. "I need to show you something," I said. "I am not doing this to hurt you. I think you should know what I found." She looked at the eviction records, the judgment, the license revocation. Then she got to the part about Brittany Cole and pushed the folder back. "Where did you get this?" "A friend who knows how to look," I said. "This isn't real, Marcus, those are public records. You can look them up yourself now." She stood up fast. The chair scraped loud enough that the table next to us looked over. "You are jealous, you cannot stand that I am happy, so you dug up anything you could find to blow this up. Qley, I am trying to help you. Don't contact me again." She walked out. I sat there and stared at the open folder. Then I noticed something on the floor under her chair. A folded piece of paper. It had slipped out of her bag when she stood up. She was already gone. I picked it up. It was a prenuptial agreement draft. 4 pages. I am not a lawyer, but I read every line carefully. Most of it was standard. Then I found a clause on the 3rd page. Any real property acquired by Qley within 24 months prior to the marriage, or gifted to Qley within 36 months following the date of marriage, shall be considered jointly held marital property subject to equal management and disposition rights by both parties. I read it 3 times. If I sold my house to Qley at any price, and she married Derek, that house would become his to control just as much as hers. Equal right to sell it, refinance it, use it as collateral. The scheme was never about giving Qley somewhere to live. That smile at the dinner table. Now I understood it completely. I drove home and called the number Owen had found for Brittany Cole in Nashville. It rang 4 times. I was ready to hang up. She picked up. I said my name. I told her I was calling about Derek Holloway, and that he was currently engaged to my sister. A pause, then she said, "Oh God. Who did he target this time?" Update 2. Brittany told me everything. By the time she finished, I realized this wasn't just about a house anymore. Derek Holloway had a system, and my sister was never the goal. Brittany Cole is 32 and lives in Nashville, Tennessee. She got engaged to Derek in 2020 after about a year of dating. She described him the same way I would. Charming. Always talking about real estate and money. Very good at making the people around him feel like they had just met someone worth knowing. Her family owned a small rental property outside Nashville. Derek started spending time with her parents early on, which Brittany said felt thoughtful at first. He was attentive, always asking about the property, and whether they had ever considered what it was really worth. Then the same conversation I sat through happened at Brittany's parents' kitchen table. Derek wasn't present. Her mother brought it up. Brittany was getting married and needed somewhere stable to start her life. The property had been sitting there for years. Would it not make more sense to move it at a family price? The number they landed on was $60,000 below market value. Brittany found out 1 week before the wedding. She found an email Derek had sent to a contact of his that referenced the property and described the plan in language that made the intent impossible to misread. She called off the engagement the very same day. Derek was gone within 48 hours. He also took $8,000 she had transferred into a joint account he had convinced her to open for home renovation expenses. She still had everything: the email, bank transfer records, text messages where Derek had discussed the property in detail. She told me she had kept all of it over the past 3 years, because she always believed that one day someone else would call. She was ready to share every single document she had. I thanked her, and told her I would be in touch. The next morning, I called a real estate attorney in Austin named Claire Nguyen, who Owen had recommended. I walked into her office that Thursday with a folder that kept getting heavier. Claire was direct. My house was fully protected. It was titled in my name alone. Nobody had any legal right to compel me to sell it at any price. The prenuptial clause I found was only relevant if I had agreed to the transaction, which I hadn't and wouldn't, but she flagged something I hadn't thought about. In situations like this, she said, a bad actor will sometimes push a family member to file a civil nuisance claim, arguing some kind of informal agreement, or family expectation. It rarely succeeds. But it costs the target time, legal fees, and stress. Derek might try to manufacture that pressure if he decided the direct approach wasn't working. She told me to keep building my file. I was still in Claire's parking lot when my phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. It was Derek. He said he wanted to clear the air and suggested we talk the way two adults should. I told him I was available and he could say whatever he wanted. He paused, then he said it. Listen, man, you help us out. Everyone is happy and moves on. You don't, and things could get complicated for you. I had turned on my recording app before answering. A habit Claire had suggested when I told her Derek might reach out. I kept my voice completely even. Complicated how, Derek? He went quiet, then said he had to go and ended the call. I emailed the recording to Claire within 10 minutes. 3 days later I sent Qley a message with 3 attachments. The prenuptial draft she had dropped at the coffee shop. The full account of what Brittany had shared, including the missing $8,000. And the audio of Derek telling me things could get complicated. I kept the note short. I found this on the floor when you left. I thought you should have all of it. She didn't respond that day or the next. On the 3rd day my mother called. Her voice had the same certainty it carried at that Sunday dinner. Marcus, you destroyed your sister's engagement. I hope you understand what you have done. I said, I hoped Qley was okay, and ended the call. 30 minutes after that, my father called. Gary Webb has said maybe 400 words directly to me in the last 10 years. This time was different. Son, you did the right thing. I know that. I always knew you were treated unfairly and I did nothing about it. I am sorry. A pause. Then, I should go. He hung up. I sat there and held my phone for a long time. 2 days after that, my phone rang again, unknown number. I answered anyway. Qley's voice, no edge in it. She sounded like someone who hadn't slept in days. Marcus, the joint account we opened for the wedding. $22,000. All of it, he is gone. Then she said 2 words. I hadn't heard from her in years. I didn't say I told you so. I just waited. Then I said, tell me where you are right now. Final update: it has been 2 years. Derek Holloway was arrested in February. My sister called me the day after. And for the first time in my adult life, I hosted Christmas at my house. The house I saved 8 years to own. Let me fill in what happened between that phone call from Qley and where I am standing now. After Qley told me the account was empty and Derek was gone, I got in my car and drove to where she was staying. A friend's apartment in East Austin, about 20 minutes from my place. I sat with her for about 2 hours. We didn't talk about everything, we did not fix anything, but she cried, and I didn't leave. And that felt like the right place to start. She moved back in with our parents 2 weeks later. 27 years old, back in her childhood bedroom, starting over from scratch. I will not pretend that didn't sting for her, but she held herself together better than I honestly expected her to. The FBI had already been building a case before my recording entered the picture. Derek Holloway had run the same scheme on 4 separate families across Texas, Tennessee, and Colorado over 6 years. The pattern was nearly identical every time. He identified a family with a property, entered a relationship with a younger female member, built trust with the parents, then worked through the mother to push a below-market sale. In 2 cases the sale went through. In 2 others, including Brittany's, he was stopped before the close. My recording helped establish his pattern of intimidation. Brittany Cole testified. So did 2 other women whose families lost real money to this man. Derek was charged with wire fraud and real estate fraud in February. He is currently awaiting trial. My mother called me the day the news came out. She didn't apologize, but she said nothing critical about me either. For Sandra Webb, that was as close to an admission as she was going to get. I found out later from Qley that our mother had given Derek $5,000 as a wedding gift 2 months before everything collapsed. He had taken that too. Sandra went very quiet after that. My father sent me a long text message about 3 weeks after the arrest. He didn't write it well. The sentences ran together and there were typos, but the meaning was clear. He said he had spent 30 years agreeing with whatever my mother said because it was easier, and that he understood how much that silence had cost me. He said he was proud of me and sorry it took this long to say it out loud. I have read that message more times than I can count. I haven't replied yet, but I haven't deleted it either. The house appraised at $341,000 in October, $54,000 more than I paid. I am not selling. I turned the third bedroom into a home office. There is a desk by the window that looks into the backyard and I sit there most mornings with my coffee. It is the best part of my day. Claire and I have been seeing each other for about 8 months now. It started slowly and neither of us rushed it. She was my attorney, and then the case wrapped, and she became just someone I kept finding reasons to meet for coffee. We both knew what it was before either of us said it. She isn't living here yet and we aren't rushing anything. But she is over most weekends and the house feels different when she is in it. Fuller, like it was built for more than one person. Qley sent me an email in September. 4 paragraphs. No requests, no asks. Just an apology that was specific and honest in a way I hadn't expected from her. She named the exact things she had said to me. She acknowledged what she had refused to see. She wrote that she didn't expect a response and just needed me to know. I sat on it for 2 weeks. I went back and read it several times. Then I called her. We talked for an hour. We didn't fix 30 years of family history in 60 minutes, but we talked. She asked about the house. I asked about her new job. She laughed once at something I said, and it sounded exactly like the sister I remembered from when we were kids. Before everything in that house got so tilted. It was a start, just a start, but it felt completely real. Christmas was last Thursday. Owen came over around 4 and helped me shift the couch to make room. Claire arrived at 5 with wine and that way she has of making any room feel warmer. A few other friends filled out the evening. I cooked in my kitchen, in my house, with people I chose. Around 8 my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I picked it up. A text from my mother, "Merry Christmas, son." I looked at it for a moment. Claire glanced over, and I showed her the screen. She didn't say anything. She just put her hand on mine. I set the phone face down and turned back to the room. 8 years of saving bought me a house. But what happened after taught me something no amount of money can buy. The difference between the family you are born into, and the family you build.